Hello, everyone. My name is Noemi, and I am a Christian stay-at-home mom and soon-to-be homeschool mom again. And I will explain all of that. But today, I want to share with you the pros and cons of private school, Christian private school, versus pros and cons of homeschool. And I'm really happy to share this with you because I was actually looking for content on that private school versus homeschool. Last year, before we put them in school, they've been in school for 1 year. I'll explain that in a minute. And I could not find anything. Everything was public school versus, but nothing was private school. So public school is a whole nother entity in itself, I believe, but Christian private school. So my children were homeschooled for 3 years, ever since COVID 2020 up until this past school year, August. They started at a Christian private school, August of 2023. And so they are completing school within the next month. We are in May. I think today is May 3rd. And once they finish, after much prayer, my husband and I have decided and determined to put our kids back in homeschool for the remainder of their schooling years until they go off into college. And so this is not necessarily because they've had a bad experience in school. It's just, again, we have seen pros and cons and we see major differences. And we're thankful to God that here in Florida, in case you don't know, this is information for you, there is a scholarship called Step Up for Students. There's different branches within that scholarship, but it is to help you funding to be able to put your child in a private school. Or now, since last year, our governor, Ron DeSantis, he has passed a bill that the funding now has been open to homeschool parents. So that same amount that you would get to enroll your child in a private school, that funding you receive. But of course, there are requirements within it, so it's not that you get, because normally it's about $7,000-$8,000 per child for the whole school year, the tuition. You don't get the money per se, but it goes straight to quarterly the school. Now, for homeschooling, you get you have access to that funding, but it's either through their MSS website that you can purchase items, or you have to purchase out of pocket, whatever it is within the handbook requirements of what you're allowed to purchase, which stems from exercise equipment, playground equipment, to curriculum, to desks, to extracurricular activities, to manipulatives, and so much more. But anyways, either you go through the website to make purchases, or you have to purchase yourself and fill out a form online to then get reimbursed. So it's not that you're getting that money in hand, but it's awesome that is an option. So I will link that down below, the scholarship, Step Up for Students. It is only in Florida, I believe. So I don't know if you live out of Florida. Go ahead and look around or ask around, or go into your, I wish I could tell you the homeschool sites, or go into the government to see if there's any scholarships that can help. So anyways, that being said, having that privilege, we do qualify for that scholarship, which is open to everyone. Does not matter your income. You can be high bracketed income, you can be low income, you can be middle income, which is where we fall, right? Everyone qualifies. Now, they do give priority to, there's like an enrollment time, which actually enrollment has started now since March, since beginning of April. So I highly, 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 if you live in Florida, get the process started because it is worth it. So anyways, my husband and I, we have decided to go back to homeschooling. So today, once again, pros and cons of private school and pros and cons of homeschool, even though the cons personally in homeschool are minimal compared to the pros of homeschool and far outweigh it. Therefore, we will be homeschooling again, and I'm excited. So, pros of having your child in a Christian private school. This is for private school. Is frequent. Number one, I have a couple notes I made with colored pencil of my children because this is real life. And we can call it chicken scratch. I just kind of threw it down because I said it's now or never, and I want to share with all of you. So number one, a pro of private school is frequent participation. So The children are able to participate in the classroom setting with other students and with the teacher. Why do I say this? Because the style that I was doing for homeschool, we were using the program called Abeka, which is pre-recorded videos from the year before. You see the teacher in her classroom, and that classroom is being recorded. He or she does address the at-home students in the camera several times throughout each subject in the day. I would oversee them. But in my case, the children watching the video, my children, one of them, my third grader, the 9-year-old, he is a social, I'm not going to say butterfly. He is a social moth. Let's give it a little male spin on that. So he's very social. And so the teacher would be, okay, boys and girls, so who knows what this answer is? And he would be like, Mommy, I wish I could raise my hand. I wish you could call on me. And he just, if you ask him a question, he's going to take all the time in the world to explain every last detail to you. So that is something he longed for. And being in the school, he was able to do that. He loves it. And he's actually straight A's. Thank you, Lord. And it's not really about the grade, but he's attentive, he's respectful, he loved it. Which all that came from homeschool base and background. But anyways, frequent participation. My kindergartner, he loves to also talk and participate. Number 2, pro of being in a private school. It motivates them to learn. So, again, personal experience. My kindergartner, he was in K4 last year, and I had to have him in our living room where I could see him watching the videos. He was 4 years old, so that way I can hear what he's doing, what he's learning, and then also oversee it. And I would have to be more hands-on, one-on-one with him. And he'd kind of be like, and his brothers would be in the room on their desk, in their tablets, and he was just kind of like, And he was motivated in certain things, but things that were difficult, he was maybe not as. So private school motivates them to learn. You see other children learning, or at the same time, you see maybe a kid that doesn't get it, but he gets it. It's motivating to them. Number 3, you get to see your child through a different perspective, a different lens, which is the lens of the teacher. So my kindergartner, he was struggling with phonological awareness, letter recognition, sounding out, and I had been working with him, and I just didn't understand. With my other 2, I didn't have this problem, and I was feeling like a failure. And again, this was not the reason for putting him in school, but I was just feeling so guilty and like, what have I done? And then the teachers were like, oh no, he's doing great, oh no, he's advancing. And now, end of the year, they told me the other day, hey, he, out of all the children in the class, the children who came in that were not that strong in those areas, he is the one that has improved and advanced the most. So they did not see him through mom's eyes or mom's experience, but they were able to see him and see him in a classroom as a whole and say, hey, he's doing great, or he's struggling with this, but we can do this. He can move on. So it's very nice to see things from a different perspective, not just how you see it. Number 4, in my case, the school free lunch. So with my children having free lunch, budget-wise, that helped us a lot. Now, it's not common. Normally you have to pay, but let's say you have to pay. That's something taken off of your plate in that you have to prepare it every day, right? So it was breakfast, they're in school, they have their lunch time, and also in talking about free lunch, my children, they're big, they're tall. They're not big like me in regards to heaviness. Yes, I'm very honest. I'm not afraid. I'm not hiding from anything. But they are tall and they are eaters. And so it also has helped to manage their portions, which at home I try to do it, but in school you only get 1 plate and that's it. So free lunch has been a big plus. And then number 5 is time for mommy at home. And that may sound very selfish, but it has been wonderful. I leave them, which my kids are not a burden. My children, I do not have that mindset that, oh, kids are a bother and, oh no, just get them out of your hair. No, not at all. But it has been nice. And it's not like I'm just home by myself. The reason we put them in school is because of having my 4th child. He's 1 year, he just turned 1. He was 4 months old when they started school. So that's why we chose to put him in there, to kind of not hinder their learning, their education, because honestly, it was going to be too much for me. I know, and I don't know, but I've seen in YouTube many moms, and actually I have a friend who homeschools her 4 kids, and every time she's given birth, they homeschool year round, and she trudges through it and she gets it done. For me, that just wasn't going to be my case, and everyone's different, and it's okay. You know your limitations, you know how far you can go. So time for mommy, I've been able to give that one-on-one time to my baby. And also when he's taking a nap, I actually can do stuff in the house, and it's amazing. So those are your 5 pros for private school. Now, cons, which I put 5, and I can't remember everything, but honestly, it's just... So, sickness, number 1. They are around all these children. Ever since COVID, it's like, I don't know how many viruses have just been unleashed and are running rampant. So in the beginning, they got sick, which was expected. And I mean, they would go to church, they would go out to events and stuff. So it's not like they were just isolated in a bubble, which is a misconception people have of homeschool. But they got sick in the beginning. That was fine. But come January, and I think it's called flu season, one of them got sick. And because it's 4, right? Domino effect, like or comment below if you can relate. And it was just like this vicious circle. They got one virus, they're almost over it. They get another virus, almost over, they got another virus. And I have just been dealing with so much sickness, so much medication, which I am not that organic, chemical-free mom, but I tried to, within our budget and within the resources we have, try to be as clean as possible. If I can avoid giving my children medication and instead give them a clove of garlic as a natural antibiotic. Now, if they have a severe infection, I'm going to give them regular antibiotics. But anyways, I've had to give them so much medication because sickness and sickness and sickness, especially the younger ones. And now my oldest one has been getting all these weird viruses, and he's in 6th grade. So lots of sickness. Number 2, bad habits. That's been the biggest one. People say, or like to say when you would homeschool, is you need to expose them to the world. No, you want to know something? I don't agree. And I'm just going to be straight up with you. No, you don't have to. There will be a time and a place when they're older. Once again, you're not living in a bubble. They are exposed. You go to the grocery store, they're exposed. You have a play date, they're exposed. You have them in sports, they're exposed to other children. But there's a difference of being around children for a short or limited period of time compared to 8 hours a day completely out of your control. It's a Christian school, but that does not mean every child attending is Christian. And the motto of the school my kids are in now, it's a good motto. It's that you don't have to be Christian to attend, because the whole purpose is to expose them to the gospel. The curriculum is faith, Christian based, and they have chapel once a week, and they have Bible every day that they're learning. So this is a way of exposing children, which is beautiful. What matters is that the staff, you would hope, would be. And it just hasn't been. It's just been all these behaviors and habits, which, thank you, Lord, because my children have had so far a good foundation. It is easy to backslide, but they have not conformed or been like them. But they'll come home and just, Mommy, what does this word mean? What does this bad word mean? What does that bad word mean? Which most of them knew most of the bad words. I actually introduced them to them, not because, oh, you guys are homeschooled, so you need to know every bad thing in the world. No. But so they wouldn't be ignorant to it, right? But my little one, he's like, Mommy, this little boy said the B word. Or just those kids who are just bad influences. And especially elementary has been great, but especially middle school. My 6th grader, his class is only 11 students, and there are only 4 boys in his class. And even then, it has just been such a struggle with the stories he tells me. The children talking about, hey, yeah, like they watch pornography, not in school, but they hint at it. And again, some people might say, oh, well, that's good because in the world, yeah, that's great. But you know what? When they have graduated high school, when they have had their foundation, when they have developed and found themselves and who they are, because every stage you're finding your identity. And as a parent, when you homeschool, you're able to guide your child and you're able to help them through different things. Then guess what? It's all good. Christ says in his word, I don't ask that you take them out of the world, but that you help them. And so, but it also says train up your child in the way they should go. And if your child is in school 8 hours a day and they have to do homework and then they have to have dinner, where is the training really happening? And again, if you are a Christian parent and your child's in school, good for you. I am not in any way putting you down, but definitely these are realities that I have seen. Number 3, cons of private school. You don't know where they're at in their learning. So maybe they need help with a material and you're trying to help them within as much as you can. Elementary is pretty basic, right? But even then, you don't know what lesson are you on? What chapter are you in? And even with 3, you're like messaging the teachers, but they're busy with so many other children. So maybe sometimes they bring home that textbook, but it's just so difficult. So it's been hard to be able to gauge, especially from having homeschooled as a mom, where you have their curriculum, you know exactly what they're on. It's just out of your control, which is fine. I'm not saying you need to be a control freak and you need to know every single thing. But if they're struggling, you want to be able to refer back. You want to be able to, help them. It falls on a teacher to work with 20-something kids. It can be difficult, which also leads into number 4. You have to learn at the same speed as everyone else. The blessing of homeschool is that you get to see the strengths and the weaknesses of your child. And you notice math, they're thriving. Well, guess what? Even though I did the videos, and for this coming year, we're going to do BJU, Bob Jones University. Stay tuned for future videos on that. But even then, I'm able to customize it to my liking and to my children's. I make the system work for them. They don't have to work for the school system. Their schooling works for them, for their learning needs and for their learning speed. So therefore, if my child is excelling in math, we do not need to do 50 problems of math, and we do not need to spend 2 weeks on this chapter. No, you know what? You're doing great. Okay, I'll circle a couple do these problems. He got them all right. He did the test. He did good. We're moving on. Within a week, we can move on. Now you're struggling with language. You're struggling with, grammar and quotation marks and all of that. Well, you know what? Punctuation, right? All of that. Well, now we can slow down. Let's focus in on it. Let's find some of the resources to add. We can do tutoring. The libraries in here in Miami-Dade are free tutoring. You can do virtual or in person. So I'm able to make it work for them. And guess what? My children went in. They had to do entrance exams, and they all scored in their math 3-4 grade levels ahead. And in their language, which all of them, they don't struggle, but it's just not their forte for some reason. And I mean, it never was for me. They were at their level. But what have I heard from them being in school is, your children are so respectful. Wow, they are so dedicated. Wow, they're so attentive. They're such an example to others. And we know that comes from the foundation. Kids who are in school every day, there's only so much you can work with their behaviors, so much you can help them with their education. I just view like your hands are so tied. Your hands are so tied. And then number 5, con about private school is not every teacher lines up with your views. So some teachers, they're Christian and kind of like, yeah, I know about church, and that's basically it. And there's others who really have a relationship with Jesus Christ. So I actually had a clash with one teacher in the beginning of the school year, right off the bat, that she just said some things that were not biblical at all, and was just telling the kids, you can believe whatever you want, but if we're paying to have them in a Christian school that is going to have Christian doctrine and Christian curriculum basis, what do you mean pick whatever you want? And so I had to speak with administration, and they were like, no, that's not what we're teaching. I'm not going to say what the subject was on. I don't want to be too controversial, but I am going to be straight up with all of you. And feel free to give your opinions, as long as you do it, please, respectfully. We are free to express ourselves, but with respect and love. That's how we can all just get along in this world that we're living. So anyways, so those are my cons: sickness, bad habits, don't know where they're at in, what levels, have to learn same speed as everyone, and not every teacher lines up with your views. Some teachers are, wow, women of faith for real, and others are just not. And then things in the school that they do that for some might not be a big deal. They were just going to have a spring fling dance, which is super cute, and I know many moms or many families, Christian, they don't mind. But for us, I don't understand, what kind of music are we putting, first of all, for them to have a dance. So just by you guys seeing my videos, you're going to get to know my views quite a bit. And these are my convictions, and they line up with the Word of God in the process. So those are pros and cons about private school. Now, all I have is pros, and I can give you a couple cons. But pros of homeschool is you learn your child. You get to know them, and like I said, strengths and weaknesses. So you get to see, first of all, you get to know their personality as a whole, not just like, hey, mommy, look at what I drew, and oh, that's great. And yeah, no, you have that one-on-one time with them. And if you have several like me, and there's moms who have 8 kids, 6 kids, but you get to learn them. You get to learn their learning style. If you have one that's a little bit hyper, a little bit, you're able to do things more interactive with them. If you don't have the time to do more interactive, at least okay, make their schedule a little more dynamic. You're going to do this first, then go outside for PE or to go play or do some outside chores. Then you can come back and do this. So a way of keeping them up and down and going. You can customize the program for them. Once again, you make school work for them. You make the system work for them, not the other way around. More time for what matters. If you want to spend quality time you want to go on trips. I would love to have an RV. I do not. But there's families who go on trips several times a year. And educationally, we would plan field trips. We were able to be involved in our community, which I'm hoping to up that this school year. Being involved in the community, helping out. So just for things that matter, you're able to invest more time. Homeschool does not take 8 hours. It depends on everyone, but it can be between 4 to 5 hours. It can be 3 hours. It depends on the day, right? It depends on the demeanor of the children. Some days kids aren't having it, and I don't know about you, but I remember growing up, there were days that in school, you're just not having it. It's just not happening, but you just have to push through, right? And of course, there should be some kind of order and organization within, because we are teaching them principles, and these habits they're creating will follow them in life. So it's not just, today maybe we'll homeschool, tomorrow maybe we won't. No. But within your structure, you can be flexible. And again, you get to rear up your child, train up your child in the way they will go. And when they are older, they will not depart from it. You have the honor and the privilege to instill in your children, not just raise them up educationally, which there are many statistics out there of how universities even seek out homeschooled children because of their focus, because of their time management, because of their excelling educationally, right? Because it is not a trauma. Like growing up in school, you're just like, you have to learn this, and if you don't get it, the teacher has to move on and you fell behind, and it creates all these traumas. No, education is actually like, it comes to them easy. It's not stressful. So a lot of universities seek out homeschool children, but in this process of not just rearing them up educationally and giving them so many more opportunities, honestly, that you can give them, but on top of that, the morals you're able to instill in them, the ethics, the biblical foundation and spiritual foundation, that you have this 18-year window, which may seem like so much, but it's not. I have a 12-year-old, and I'm kind of sad thinking of, I only have 6 more years with him. Then he starts college, Lord willing, and then his life starts. So I have this window, this time frame that I can instill and teach them. And again, it's not that you're going to hide them away in a bubble, but it is this beautiful time that you get to have with them, and that you get to teach them and you get to help them and you get to give them the skills to thrive in life, which just because you go to school 8 hours a day, once you graduate, that doesn't mean you have the skills you need in life. Here at home, it's not just about math, science, language, but my kids sometimes like to watch me cook. Mommy, how do you do that? How do you make that, right? Or they get to see their dad when he's building stuff, or I'm able to make them they have to have chores. Before starting school, you have to organize your bed, fix your room, and it's just all these different skills, and you can hone in on them. If you notice your child likes building more, hey, let's look up some classes, kind of like they used to have in school, home ec, or I forget, workshop, something like that. One of my children's interested in maybe the police force. I'm already thinking about doing ride-alongs. I don't know if they can do ride-alongs, or talking to the police station to see what they can do to be involved. Another one, he's really into medicine. So just exposing them and being able to give them the skills to thrive in this world that unfortunately is just slowly spiraling due to the lack of the fear of the Lord, and also just because mentalities are shifting, and what used to be right is now considered wrong, and what was considered wrong now is being applauded and approved. So all of that to give you pros and cons, private school versus homeschool. And the con I would say of homeschool is, just as a mom, you do not have that same time that you would when your kids are in school. And another con would be, that watching the videos, the child is not able to, if it's seeing a classroom setting, the teacher, if it's not live, they can't really interact with them. But my children are in sports. They're going to continue being in sports, and especially in the school they're in now, they can continue, so they know buddies there. between children being in sports, between children being in they're going to be in music classes, and they go to church. They're very involved with all the children there that they've all been growing up with. So they have so many friends. They have 8 cousins or 9 cousins, or I think 12 cousins in total. So that whole socialization aspect is good. And yeah, I hope this video was informative. Please be patient with me. This is my second or third video that I'm making, and I'm really excited for this journey, and I hope you jump on board and follow along with me. Bye now.